Right, so today I will be showing how to make one of the best healers in terms of support in ESO. Um, I'll just go over a few things and show you a bit about it afterwards. Choosing the stuff that I chose. Did try looking for guides on this, couldn't find any. I prefer the way this is. The style of it, just how the gameplay feels. You still get to do a bit of damage as well as dropping all the heals and giving quite a lot of support. So first of all, the race. I've gone with Khajiit. Um, just for the pure reason Khajiits get 12% extra critical damage as well as critical healing. It's very good in times when you've got the burst healings going out. And like, as you can see, the normal numbers when the crits do hit, which you probably won't now, just to make me look stupid. There you go, 17,000 over 10,000. It does add quite a lot on, and it can help in very good situations. Another good race, and probably the only race I would use, would be Breton. For the sustain it gives, it's just absolutely crazy. And also Nord, due to its ultimate generation. You get your ultimates off quite a lot quicker as well, especially if you play as a Nightblade, where you've got quite a lot of ultimate generation coming in from drinking potions or using certain skills. The class I have chosen, as I've mentioned, is Nightblade, for a number of reasons, as it is probably one of the best classes to get when you are using min-maxed characters in raids. Like when you've got a raid full of people who are absolutely top bollocks basically, you will use this class to add a lot more to the damage and to the crit chance of your team. That's that. And now attributes. Straight all 64 in Magicka. As you can see, got quite a bit of recovery there from my gear and passives in other places, but I'll go over those as I go through the skills. The food I am using is the eyeball ice cream, I think it is. It gives you quite a lot of magicka and quite a lot of recovery as well. The Mundus is the apprentice for the maximum amount of spell damage. I have tried playing with the mage to add more magicka, and I'll explain why magicka and spell damage are quite important in this build as well. Usually it's more about recovery for the healers, but this specific type of healer needs quite a specific setup to be as efficient as it can be. So I will go and start with the skills. So I choose Healthy Offering as my burst. Also, once you cast it, you could also cast it any time, not necessarily when you need it, just to give you the minor mending on all your other heal over time. Illustrious Healing, the stronger more of Grand Healing. We'll explain why I use this as well as I come onto gear. Energy Orb is for the synergy. It can give quite a lot of healing throughout everybody who uses it, as it can be used by everybody in the team, and it can burst every time. Combat Prayer for the Minor Berserk. I can see this getting run out soon, with the amount of people running Oaken Soul and other ways of receiving this buff as well. But it is nice for the Minor Resolve, and it's also nice for the heal that it gives. It's quite a nice burst heal. Merciless Resolve, again with the spell damage, I use it to stack, as it gives you 60 per stack up to 5 times. That's an extra 300 spell damage for free. Also, if you really want to add to the damage as well, you can fire that arrow off after the 5th attack. So as I say, you activate it, goes up to 5 stacks there, as you can see. Changes into an arrow. Fire it off, you do quite a bit of damage. So that's that one. The reason I've chosen the ultimate I have is due to the passives. As you see, I have Bolster in Darkness on the front bar, and having that on the front bar gives me 3% extra max health. It's not a lot, but it really does help when you've got all the multipliers coming in from Warhorn, and trying to think of the Warden buff. Can't think of the Warden buff, but it gives you 10% extra health anyway. So the assassination skill, I have only got that on there as well, not just because it's good passively, but the passives that affect it. Dealing critical damage grants you and your group minus savagery. Now, minus savagery is a good buff to have if all your team, despite if they are Magicka, are all running weapon damage enchants. If you have a Dragon Knight in the team, he will be constantly giving minor brutality and major brutality, which is your weapon damage. So any buffs to the weapon side of the physical, of the... trying to think what I'm trying to say now. Offensive stats. So if the weapon crit and the weapon damage are the higher of the two, they will always be like dominant in your skill damage. Like whatever skills you use, whether it be magic or stamina, they all scale off your maximum offensive now. Even heals do as well. So that's the only reason I really use Merciless Resolve. You could use other skills from here. You could use Impale. You'd lose out on the 300 damage, but you'd obviously give a lot more in terms of damage to the team and Execute. Or you could even use the Incapacitated Strike, but you'd have to be in melee for that, and healer in melee is not very good, to be honest. Healers get trashed. So that's it for the front bar. Nice burst heal, heal over time, burst heal, damage buff. And if you want to use the ultimate, it gives quite a nice speed buff. It heals for quite a lot when the synergy is activated. And also major protection for 12 seconds. Quite a handy buff when you're getting attacked by mobs. So on the back bar, so the front bar is a restoration staff, of course, with the restoration skill. The back bar is a destruction staff. I've gone with fire just for the single target damage of crushing shock. Nothing else really. If I could get an ice staff or a shock staff, I probably would do so. But I've just grown to like the flame staff now. Crushing shock, it's a nice interrupt. It does good damage as well. If you can keep it weaved in while you've got your heals and your buffs going. Refreshing Path, after it got buffed, is absolutely amazing now. Not only does it heal and give you resistances from Shadow Barrier, it also applies minor intellect and minor endurance, which increases stamina recovery and magical recovery by 15%, and also it increases movement speed by 30% as well by giving major expedition. Heals every second, quite a nice heal over time, quite a nice tunnel as well, so you can get quite a lot of people in this rectangle if they're all stacking. And that's that. I'll demonstrate the crushing shock. So like it's just a simple beam, but you just weave it in with your light attacks. Does quite a bit of damage. As you can see there, it's 15k just light attacking. Dropping now because of the crit damage. You probably round out at about 12 or 13k damage just using that all the time. Inner Light I've got on there for the crit, just to help out with crit chance on heals. As my crit chance will be pretty low just for being a healer, it's not even 30%. So that just helps out with that. Also gives me an extra bit of maximum magicka from the major skill line. So I get the benefits of all the passives from here for having that on the on there, so it increases. Where's it gone? Max Magicka and Magicka recovery by 2% just for having that on there. And if I really wanted to get bigger hits with my heavy attacks, it also applies Empower when I use it. So the little sword at the bottom on the bar, sticking down from 6, 5, that also increases your heavy attacks. So if I do a heavy attack now, so it's for 9873, whereas usually it will only hit for 5-4, whatever that was then. So it does amplify it quite a lot. Next skill is siphoning attacks. So as you are activating that and using light attacks in between everything, you should be using light attacks between everything to keep your enchants up on your weapons. It will heal you and restore magicka for everyone, and also fully charged heavy attacks, which you will be using a lot in this build, will restore a lot more magicka as well. So it will restore 212 magicka every heavy attack, and then once it runs out, you restore up to 4,270 additional magicka, and then you can just reapply and just keep it going constantly, as it's got such a low cost of magicka as well. The basic and best skill to be keeping down is the wall as well, just because of your enchant. It will keep your weapon damage really high pretty much all of the time. So if I show, just drop it down, I've got the sword there on my buff bar, that's increasing my damage, and it will just keep ticking over, and it lines up with the last part of that, and just keep it going. And as you can see, it is buffing my spell damage quite a lot there. 4,000, get rid of it. Yeah, so it does buff it quite a lot. Also with that, I'll show you just so the extra is applied on that. So we've gone up. It should be 300, but it's doesn't seem to be quite there. It's like 200 and something, plus the modifier from that, 4187. Just seems to get lower and lower each time, but it's just what it is. It's just how it stacks and multiplies itself. So we have gone over them skills, and then the final skill on the back bar, which is the Warhorn, which is the PvP skill. It's to basically give everybody 10% max resources, and also to give major force, which is critical damage, by 20% for 14 seconds. So that is all the skills, I do believe. We'll explain, obviously, with the Grand Rejuvenation, the Grand Healing, sorry, and the Illustrious Healing, why I've got it the way it is. So we'll move on to gear. So I've got the Master's Perfected Restoration Staff, which is not charged. So I have that charged with Flame, just because when you have the Wall of Elements down with fire, they take more damage from fire, so the glyph does considerably more damage, as it should only do 2, 5, 3, 4. But once it's in there, just let that run off. Let's have a quick look in the combat metrics once he's cooled down. And as you can see, the fiery weapon hit for a max of 3669, so that the buff it gets from being used inside the wall of fire is pretty good, and also it gets modified by every other damage multiplying effect as well. So the staff itself it adds a maximum magicka as well with it being perfected. The initial healing invigorates you and group members, and it gives you 224 magicka and stamina every 2 seconds. So the little buff for that is the little green hands, and like just no matter how much magicka you use, as soon as you've got that ticking, it'll just double stack every 2 seconds. and it flies everybody's resources through the roof. Aside from that, charged I do use just to keep the burning proc going on the enemies. Obviously, if this was a frost staff, it would keep up the chilled effect, or it would keep up the concussed effect if it was a shock staff. Whichever one is needed for your team, I would probably suggest going. I mainly use this for 4-man. I have used it in trials. It does work really well, but it could be better. But this is like ideal for anybody who wants to get into the Roaring Opportunist and Jorvulds healing. So that's the front staff sorted. And now the back staff is where the magic of the build is. So it's a 5-piece set, Roaring Opportunist. I use an infused weapon damage to keep my damage high. So the 2-piece is offensive. The 3-piece gives you the Minor Slayer, which is the buff which gives you more damage to dungeon and trial enemies. Find that on pretty much all trials gear now. This does come from Rockgrove, I do believe. Or Kyne's Aegis. Kyne's Aegis, sorry. The 4-piece, 129 weapon and spell damage. Just an extra bit of juice to that. And the 5th piece, after completing a fully charged heavy attack, you and up to 5 group members gain Major Slayer, increasing your damage done to dungeon, trial and arena monsters by 10% for 1 second every 600 spell damage or 6300 magicka you have. So this is the reason you need to max out as much magicka and spell damage as you possibly can, as it can only be used every 22 seconds but has a maximum duration of 12. Now, the other key set to this is Jorvulds Guidance, which buffs, on the 5th piece, all major and minor buffs and damage shields by 40%. So, it takes a 12-second buff up to 16.8 seconds. So, as long as we're in combat to start with, so just light attack and then get a heavy attack in there. As you can see, 16.8 seconds of the buff, and it's there ticking away at the bottom, 12, 11, 10, 9. So that stacks with the minor and major, which is, if I do believe, that's 5%, and that is 10%. So that's 15% extra amplified damage for 16.8 seconds. So I've gone over the glyph on that, gone over the glyph. The reason I used a 1-piece magma is just because of the magicka and stamina recovery. If you roll dodging or blocking a lot, the stamina recovery can help. It is the only piece that gives this at the minute, I think, which is the only reason I went with it. Jorvulds Guidance, gone over that. As you can see, quite a lot of recovery, quite a lot of healing done there as well. It is really nice to help out with the healing side rather than the buffing side, whereas the 5-piece is just all for the buffs. Shoulder piece is the Spalder of Ruin. It is a mythic. I cannot remember what chapter it come from. I think it was Blackwood, and it is really nice for team play, as it will give everyone 260 weapon and spell damage. But the more people it affects, the less recovery you have. But with you doing heavy attacks, pretty much every other attack, your resources stay topped up all the time. So just to show the effect of that, and to show on there. So we've got that buff, we've got that buff, drop that. I think we were 41 something last time. 4187. For some reason it doesn't seem to be affecting me. I think it's mainly for the team, to be honest. Yeah, I thought it did affect myself. It clearly doesn't. But everything divines, all talents on you. Armour should be divines to maximise your apprentice Mundus. So I've got the Jorvulds Guidance, chest, legs, and then jewellery. Roaring opportunist, belt, gloves, boots, and then the back bar staff, so it's only active on the back bar. But I still get the 3-piece minus Slayer on the front bar and back bar as well. Arcane for the jewellery, just to increase the max magicka. But if you really wanted to, you could run infused spell damage, as it would give. I don't know the exact numbers, but it would definitely give more than arcane in terms of actual output of heals and everything. I've just left them as arcane, as I've never bothered to transmute them. Infuse would probably be better on maybe a couple or all of them. Not really tested it out yet, but that seems to be everything for the gear. So just to go over, you would pre-buff, keep your path on, so everybody who's attacking the boss is pretty much healed as they're stacked. As you can apply this as many times as you want, it'll just tick down, and the more times it ticks down, the more magic it'll recover. So first of all, we drop that, drop the wall, drop a healing spring, combat prayer, heavy attack, down, combat prayer, wall, heavy attack, and then from there it's just basically keeping everything up that you're throwing out, heavy attacks in between. And then once you get to around 2 seconds, I do use an add-on for the Roaring Opportunist debuff. So when it gets to around 2 seconds, you can charge that heavy up. As you can see, magicka, not a problem, so we'll charge it up now, and there it goes, it continues straight over. So you've only got like a 5 point something second cooldown to wait until you've got your major slayer again. Well, that's pretty much all it is to this. If anybody does drop low on health, it's a smart heal. You just drop as many of them as you need to drop. It will apply a debuff to yourself, which takes health off you. But as you can see, it's only 270. You're healing ridiculous amounts in your heals anyway. But even the minor mending gets buffed by the Jorvulds, as you can see, 13 seconds the minor mending. So it's useful just to use it and then keep all your heals going. You can get a crit off this. Go and get a crit within that time. Nope. Also, potions I am using are the spell power pots, which give you a critical chance, spell damage and magicka, and also the intellect. Can't seem to get a crit off this. There we go, 20,000. So nearly 21,000 just off that, which will heal pretty much any DD back up to full health. And that wasn't even including that. $22,486. And just to say with this one as well, we drop this, as you can see, it's got the major protection down on there, and the minor and major resolve, I think it was as well. So that's the minor resolve, that's your major resolve, that's it. So as you can see, a lot of buffs, a lot of debuffs. Obviously with the burning, debuffs on yourself, which don't really matter. So I suppose I will go over the champion points. The green, you can set to however you like. I've just set them as these, just basic points. They're just how I've set up most of my characters, to be honest. So the blue, maximising out the magicka, maximising the spell damage. Do use enlivening overflow pretty much all the time. That will give quite a lot of recovery to the team. From the brink is good if you are in a new team. People not sure what mechanics are, people standing in stupid. This will give them quite a nice damage shield to get out of the way. The Hope Infusion, this is only good when you can get your magical recovery up to 3000, which is on pretty much any healer apart from this one, as you are using the Spalder, which takes off quite a lot of recovery. So I would not recommend using Hope Infusion on a RoJo healer. Between these two, depending on the quality of your team, but I always go Enlivening Overflow. Always increase the healing over time for the dots. It could increase it with single. Area effect heals. Single target heals. To be honest, with me using combat prep, I'll probably use Soothing Tide actually. Right, so Soothing Tide, Hope Infusion. Make sure you've got all your defensive passives, your magic and your stamina. Make sure you've got those, and that is them. That's all four. Yeah. For some reason I thought there were 5 passives then. Yep. So you've got the Hope Infusion, Soothing Tide, the Arcane Supremacy, and Untamed Aggression. If you do feel like you need to not take as much damage, you could slot Ironclad. If you were PvP healing, a bit of crit resistance, even more critical healing if you needed it. But I would only recommend this on your regular healers. Like this healer's just it's got its own specific role, and pretty much need to spec more into like sort of a hybrid for stats rather than specking just purely healing or damage. The red, I have gone with Boundless Vitality, Fortified, and Rejuvenation. I could potentially change Rejuvenation for Sustained by Suffering, as it does give more. This gives 150, whereas this gives 90. So you would get an extra 60 recovery just by keeping the debuff up on yourself from your own heal. So there is quite a lot of recovery to be had there. And I've gone with Spirit Mastery to decrease the time it takes to resurrect. Now, in a team where you wouldn't necessarily be resurrecting, or you wouldn't need to resurrect because the team is just that good, I would probably say going into siphoning spells. Yeah, would probably say going into siphoning spells would probably be the best option there. There is other passives such as Celerity, which I've used, increases your movement speed even more. Nice to get around, heal a lot more. That's because I've chosen the movement speed over Spirit Mastery, as I've been playing with quite a few good players recently. And that is it for the champion tree. Passives and everything else. Everything you've got a passive node on, just try and fill it out over time. Wouldn't know exactly what is the priority, but just aim to work through your tree. The main things I probably would suggest on this is to get your max health straight away, get those in, and get your Boundless Vitality in. As you can see, without food, well, without health, I have 21,500. So I'll just correct them changes. So now I've changed that with the... there we go. It's increased that quite a bit, to be honest. So we've got that, so do that. Do that. $24. 393. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was before, but yeah, it's gone up quite considerably. So what's this? 2009. It should technically be the same if I were to use this buff. Have I got any points in anything else? Seems a weird number to be on, does that? Well, considering I'll never use Hope Infusion. So these should be 2009 as well, with it being... okay. So even though it's a heal over time, it's still classing it as an area heal. So that's where my false news came from a long time ago, thinking that increased that. So yes, the better one is Soothing Tide. So we've got Soothing Tide, we've got Enlivening Overflow. Sorry, I think I said the wrong one earlier. Arcane Supremacy, Untamed Aggression. So now it is okay. I think it's just as I've dropped the buffs, it's dropped the heal. Oh, you must wait. So 1825, 1825. So yeah, they are identical. I thought it was, but the only thing is it does reduce the healing of that. So it's 11033. Oh, I'm sure they got rid of this timer, or I'm sure they must have reduced it. Yeah, it's like nearly 100, if not more than 100 per one. So I'll keep it on that one myself, to be honest. There are some nice passes for the healing, especially that one in PvP. It's crazy, as you don't need anything to actually cleanse. It's just healing a target, removes all harmful effects, and then once they've gone past the 25% threshold, heal them back up to full. Target heals, that's just for like your burst heals and things like that. Well, aside from that, I think I have gone over everything I needed to go over. Stats, the food, the Mundus, the skills, the champion, the race. Yeah, Divines is very important for the Mundus, as it increases it quite a lot, as you can tell by each piece is 9.1%. Infuse just keeps your cooldown on your enchantment refreshing all the time, and charged, as you can see, it's got quite a high chance to set off a status effect, just as in the Destruction Star. I use the Unstable Wall as well, by the way, just because you can press it again and it does AoE damage by exploding. It can help clear out trash that way. So it ignores resistance, and there we go. Chance to apply status effects as well with the staff equipped, and also gain magicka if anything dies within your wall or by crushing shock. Just ignore dual wield. I don't know why I've got that on there. I don't think I've respect. Same with this one. All the passives in there, they all help towards your healing. Blocking attacks also give you magicka. And I chose pretty much all the passives in the class. The light armor, medium armor, don't use heavy armor. As you can see, pretty much I think the only medium piece is the head, just for the extra critical healing, I do believe. Critical damage and healing, an extra 2%. Stamina recovery, 4%. Agility just increases your spell damage a bit more, and your movement speed and roll dodge gets cost reduction and a bonus. Whereas with your light armor, I'm pretty sure, yeah, costs a sprint by 3% as well. So you move faster and it costs you less. And I do believe that is it. Any flex spots? I couldn't really say, as I've played around with quite a lot of the Nightblade skills. It's mainly just the passives for the crit chance and for your own benefits of your own recovery. I've not really found anything else. You could use funnel health instead of healthy offering if you find you don't really need that burst heal, but the buff from healthy offerings is too good to give up as well. Debilitate if you wanted to try and keep a bit more damage going down. Sap essence is great in AoE situations. Apart from that, I can't really see anything else replacing many of those skills. You could probably change impulse if you wanted a bit more AoE on your destructive bar. You could use a shield instead of inner light if you're not bothered about the recovery and the max magicka. Just give you a bit more of a shield there. I'll show you for example. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of your health in shield. It's bolstered quite a lot of damage coming in. And I do believe that is everything. And that is the RoJo healer.